Om Vang Me Manasi Pratisthita Mano Me Vachi Pratishtitam Aviravirma Edi Vedasyama Ani Sthaha Shrutam Me Ma Prahasihi Anena Dhitena Oratran Samdadhami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. How do you hear me? Is it okay sound? Because I'm not sure. Is this sound better?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
That does sound better.
All right. So then it's a new hymn today, hymn number 6. From the fifth mandala, we are going through the fifth mandala. There are 28 hymns to Agni. They are all unique and beautiful and amazing. One is better than the other, or all are different. So this hymn is quite a big one, if I look at it. So it's again Vasushruta Atreya of the previous one, and it has Pankti. Pankti is a particular meter, 8-syllabic meter, is the same as Gayatri, Anushtup, and Pankti, only it has 5 padas instead of 4 as Anushtup and 3 as in Gayatri. So we have 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. So this eighth, the fifth pada is always a refrain, as you see. Isham stotrebhya abhara, Isham stotrebhya abhara, the repetition. And it creates this kind of rhythmic, beautiful poetry. Agnim tam manye Manye yo agnim tam manye yo vasuch astam yam yanti dhenavach astam arvanta ashavach astam nityasovajinach isham stotrebhya abhara. So agnich yo vasur grene samyam ayanti dhenavach sam arvanto Raghudravach sam sujatasach surayach isham stotribhya abhara. And so this is isham stotribhya abhara repeats itself. And so this is the poetic beauty of the verse of the hymn. And there are 10 verses. So this is Sri Aurobindo's commentary, the galloping flame powers of the journey. And as you know, that this journey is the major idea of the sacrifice. The sacrifice is viewed as a journey, as a constant journey. We are moving forward. We are always on the way. A man is an ever advancing pilgrim. So, and that is the sacrifice. Why? Because when the movement of the soul is taking place, through the journey, wherever we go forward, we bring the light of the divine. And with that light of the divine, we change the world. And this constant change on the journey is the sacrifice. Unless, of course, man is not doing sacrifice and he is journeying without really consciously being involved in the change of himself and nature. But in that case, he will do it unconsciously. So his soul will be doing it and he will be thinking something else, that he is fighting for his own survival. So in any case, as Sri Krishna revealed this to Sri Aurobindo in Alipur jail, when to him Krishna came and told him one thing, that everybody does his work, everyone, even those who fight against him, against the divine, anti-divine forces are doing his work, only they do not know about it. So this journey goes on, and these galloping flame powers of the journey, the flames of Agni, the divine will, home, and meeting place of all our increasing and advancing life powers, are imaged as galloping on our human journey to the supreme good. Divine will creates in us the divine strength of impulsion, an illumined and undecaying force and flame, described as the steed of the plenitude. Steed of the plenitude, the swiftness of the fulfillment. Such a psychological vision, symbol, which brings us that good and carries us to that good. His flames are coursers, these horses or these rushing forward powers on the path, who increase by the sacrifice. So the more conscious we do the sacrifice, the swifter the powers of consciousness become. They increase, they hasten uninterruptedly and race always more swiftly. They bring in the pent up illuminations of the hidden knowledge. Their entire force and rapidity are accorded when the divine strength is filled and satisfied with the sacrificial offerings. So it looks like that what we are offering, whatever I would like to offer for my change, is kind of supporting the already established movement in me for transformation. It is helping. So their entire force and rapidity are accorded when the divine strength is filled and satisfied with the sacrificial offerings. So whenever we offer something, we immediately know whether it was accepted or not. We know it through our sincerity. We even feel it. I can definitely say that my offering was accepted or not. Something in sincerity will tell you. You would feel that that is taken, this is accepted. It will be like a release of some kind, or some kind of freedom, satisfaction of some kind. Not satisfaction in terms of happiness or something, but it's like peace and calm, and that it is accepted. You don't need to have a confirmation. All right, it was done. It's not this type. Yeah, just like it was taken. You could feel. So once the strength, this fire within us for transformation and change is satisfied with our offering, so then our offering strengthens this movement of the fire and assists it in its moving faster and stronger. So basically the fire is already there. Only we are making it stronger or weaker with our offering or not offering, with our selfish attitude or with our selfless attitude of self-giving to the divine. And then it grows. So, agnim tam manye, yo vasuch astam yam yanti dhenavach. On strength I meditate, Agnim tam manye. Manye I think, or I fix my mind upon, or my consciousness rather upon. I fix my consciousness upon, that means I think. Thinking is nothing but fixation of consciousness on any object of thing. Yeah? When we think, we fix consciousness upon something. And that is thinking. That is the mental operation. Mind operates by concentration of consciousness. So agnim tam manye, I manye, fix my consciousness on that Agni, Yova uh, on strength I meditate, who is a dweller in substance. Who, Yah, Vasu, the dweller in substance. Sometimes Sri Aurobindo translates Vasu as luminous dweller within the substance. Luminous, because Vas root has several meanings: to dwell, to shine, and to wear. So he is the luminous dweller within the substance, to whom and to him as their home go our fostering herds. Astam yam, to whom as to the home, astam yanti go dhenavah, the fostering herds. These are the cows which foster. Dhenu from nurudhe, to feed with milk. They are fostering cows. Fostering with milk. Milk is the symbol of knowledge and nourishment. So they give us knowledge and nourishment. To him as their home our swift war steeds. Astam arvanta ashavah. Ashu means swift. From here, Ashva is produced, by the way, according to Yaska in his Nirukta. Ashva is the horse. Ashu is swift. Swiftness is Arvanta, stream or run or Arvanta also actually it's a participle which means the courses or the running horses. So these kind of, what do you call these horses which are running in these races, racing horse. So Arvant is also the war steed, here translates as a war steed with a footnote. The horse is the symbol of force in the Veda, especially of vital force. It is variously the Arvant or war steed in the battle, and the Vajin, the steed of the journey, which brings us in the plenty of our spiritual wealth. So there are different names for the horses. There is Vajin. Vajin literally means the one who conquers the prize or who arrives at plenitude. Yeah? And that's why he translates here in this way, that who brings us in the plenty of our spiritual wealth. And the Arvant is literally kind of rushing, yeah? The war steed. There are other also, Ashva, another word for horse, which is Arvant, Ashva, Vajin. These are all names for horses. Ashva means swift. It's a general running means. Yaska at least translates it as running. So Astam, to their home, to our home, Arvanta Ashavach, the war steed, swift. Astam Nityasach Vajinach, and these horses who are bringing the plenitude bring us constantly to our home. Or to him as their home our powers of the plenitude. Isham stotrebia abhara, bring to those who affirm thee thy force of the impulsion. Isham is the force of the impulsion, stotrebia to those who worship you, or to those who affirm you in themselves. Abhara, bring the impulsion, bring the aspiration, bring the impulse. This is such a beautiful, the force of the impulsion. We need not impulsion, but the force, because impulsion we have, the power is weak. Mm. Increase the impulsion in us, in those who affirm thee in themselves.
Impulsion here.
Impulsion footnote here. The power that enables us to make the journey through the night of our being to the divine light. Yeah. And we need this impulsion, the force of the impulsion, yeah, to go through the night, because the night is continuing in spite of us trying to get to the light. Okay, in my interpretation, I fix my mind upon Agni, who is a luminous dweller in the substance of our body, to whom all the rays of knowledge nourishing our growth come as to their own home, to whom all the powers of our being speed up as to their abode, in whom all the plenitudes of our future realizations find their ultimate refuge. Bring your luminous support to those who affirm you within themselves. This is my translation. My translations I always call interpretations because I'm kind of widening the meaning, with words which are not there in the text. Like fix my mind, I fix my mind, manye. Simply I think or meditate, but I add this kind of additional significance which helps to understand what root means. And also, who is luminous dwelling in the substance of our body? Our body is added, yeah? Because what luminous substance if it is not we in our body? It is in our house, in our physical being. There is somebody dwelling there luminously. To whom all the rays of knowledge, this is the nourishing cows, nourishing our growth. The rays of knowledge nourishing our growth come as to their own home. This is beautiful. Yeah? Change a bit. They come to him as to their own home, to Agni, to whom all the powers of our being speed up as to their abode, where they come home, in whom all the planets of our future realizations, I am adding future realizations, find their ultimate refuge. Why I'm adding future realizations? Because the planetutes which we will realize in the future, we don't have them yet, these planetutes. Yeah? So it kind of implies that it will be in the future. It's not spoken, but it is implied. There are three different types of forces mentioned here, which find Agni as their own home. The rays of luminous and nourishing knowledge, the swift and quick powers of being, these are horses. First are cows, the second are horses, and the plenitudes of supporting spiritual growth in substance. First, it is knowledge. Knowledge is to be gained first. we have to illumine ourselves. Knowledge is to be to be leading the way, as it were. Then it is power. Power is to be illumined and driven by knowledge. So the cow is to be in front of the horse, as the Veda says. Cow is to lead the horse. Cow is knowledge, horse is power. And then it is ananda in the substance, the plenitude, the fulfillment. It is very typical for Vedic knowledge to have this hierarchy of transformation: consciousness, power, bliss. This is always the hierarchy. As we know, Sri Aurobindo makes comments on later literature, on Tantra, for example. He says that it is not so. In Tantra, power leads to the knowledge, not knowledge to illumines the power. So they start with experiences and with exercises and discover knowledge. That is tantric approach. Whereas Vedic approach is to receive knowledge and to illumine power and to get to bliss. I am more Vedic person. I like knowledge first and then the rest will follow nearly automatically. Not totally
Like,
automatically. Hmm.
like how we reading the Vedas,
Yeah,
there
this is
is the
Vedic.
knowledge flow.
Yeah. And this knowledge changes our perception, changes our views on life, on ourselves, and we start acting differently. Yeah? Our power changes its quality, its intensity, its luminosity, and that leads to bliss. By the way, the Vedic characteristic of receiving properly in knowledge would be in having this blissful state of being. Yeah? If knowledge brings delight, that means it goes through. So it is a true knowledge. If knowledge does not bring delight, brings only disturbance or some kind of self-affirmation or some egoistic, you know, kind of pride or whatever, then it is not really true knowledge. All right, there is a number two verse. So Agni Hyova su grene samyam ayanti dhenavah sam arvanto raghudravah sam sujatasah surayah ishamstutribhya abhara. He is that strength who is in the dweller, who is the dweller in substance. Him I express in whom come together our fostering herds. You see, before it was his home, now it is him in whom the fostering cows, herds come together, in whom meet our swiftly galloping war steeds. Yeah? Now, before it was just his home, now it is him, in whom our luminous seers that come to perfect birth in us bring to those who affirm thee, thy force of the impulsion. So it is kind of repeating the previous verse, yeah? Nearly. Only it does not speak about astam, about the state of being, because astam is the word which means home, but from the root as, to be. Astam is something like a being. Now, bring to being, bring to existence, yeah, in the previous verse. And now you, yeah? So Agni, he is the Agni Hyova, so who is the dweller? I invoke Gurine, or express, or voice, I voice. Samyam, Ayanti Dhenavach, to whom all the Dhenus come together, all the rays of light which foster our being. Some Arvantora Gudravah who are swiftly running as war steeds come together, some Sujatasah Surayah. And this is interesting, new mm, element, Sujatasah Surayah. So the luminous or the luminary perfectly born beings. So these are the beings which are providing the plenitude in the previous verse. So there are footnotes here also. Come together, some, as Shubindra says. All our growing powers of force and knowledge move towards the manifestation of the divine knowledge force, and in it combine and are harmonized. I have my own interpretation. This flame, who is a luminous dweller in the substance, I call, whom all the rays of nourishing life approach from all sides, whom all the powers of being totally and easily follow, in whom all the luminous supporters and inciters find their perfect birth and realization. Bring your luminous support to those who affirm you within themselves. Here, there is, for those who study especially Indian philosophy later, in the post-Vedic period, is an interesting, again, concept of this Sujata Suraya. These are the luminous beings born perfectly. So why they are born perfectly, Sujata? Yeah, Sujata is perfectly born. Surya, Suri is this inciter or the sup- kind of luminous supporters, yeah? Or luminous beings. Who are these luminous beings? And I think these are our souls. And if you compare it with the previous verse where it was like knowledge, power, and ananda, then all our souls, Surya, and Surya is a common word in the Veda, is born on the level of Ananda. It is Anandamaya Purusha. Our souls are born on the level of Ananda. So we are Anandamaya. All our jivas, all our psychic beings are generated on the level of Ananda Brahman or Anandamaya Purusha. So this Anandamaya Purusha in the Puranas is called Janarloka, the world of generation, of the birth. All the beings are born here on this level of ananda, of bliss, of plenitude, which we want to realize here in manifestation. So Sujatasah is a very perfect location for this plane, for the ananda, yeah? Perfectly born. And this bliss of the being to be born into the manifestation is also reflected in even on the physical level, even in sexual relations. Yeah? Because when this conception is taking place, it is generating that bliss which is required to attract the soul, as it were. But somehow it is meaningfully connected to the birth, to the involvement of the soul to be born in the physical being. So bliss is the birth. There is this mysterious bliss of the child being born, and there's something about it altogether, so in conception and then in birth. Though it is so difficult to bring to birth and a lot of pain of birthing pain, but still it has that delight of some kind. Delight is everywhere with the child connected, being born, feeding with the breast, giving milk. The mothers speak about it as they really feel the delight, the delight of unearthly delight. It's not earthly. It's not that pain is there. There is something else following it. So these Sujata, perfectly born Surayah, luminous beings, souls. So my interpretation, this concept of the cows, horses, and substance is formulated here again in this verse to make it even more important and clear. The last one of the three, the substance of plenitudes, is expressed as that of perfectly born powers of the seers in us. It is interesting from the yogic perspective, for Vaja, ojas, is the word which means a substance purified into the energy spiritual food. It is on the basis of this concept of ojas that the other aspect of yogic realization can come into being, tejas, the shininess of the being. Ojas itself comes from the transformation of retas, the power of the sexual energy within the body, when it is not spent outside, but kind of sublimated within, yeah? But is raised up and transformed into inside into ojas, the power supporting the whole system with energy necessary for yogic siddhis. On the basis of this understanding that the yogis restricted themselves in the ordinary life to brahmacharya, for without ojas or pure substantial energy, not much can be achieved. So brahmacharya was needed for the sake of gaining experiences rather than anything else. It wasn't like something condemning the way of um, of natural way of being. Sri Aurobindo himself says about this when he was asked about this: is it really moralistic approach to the sexual relations that it is lower or some kind of? He says no, it's just natural, but it is for the yogi. It is quite destructive because it takes a lot of energy away, which is needed for building up the within the system uh, the flow of the spiritual energy. So if this energy is taken away, then this casting of the energy is taking place, then the human being is exhausting himself and falling back, as it were.
So, Vladimir, it's my voice is echoing.
Yeah, I can hear.
Is it so? This ojas is both for male and female.
Yeah, and yeah, somebody asked him the same question whether it is male and female for both. He says yes, it is for both, and mother also says confirms this. It's interesting because we usually see that man is casting the seed, so in that sense he has to be kind of. There is some difference between this, most probably, yeah, because man is much more exhausting himself and dying. Mother says that every sexual act is an act of dying, one step towards death, yeah, because you give away something quintessential of your system, and you basically approach death. Here, Sherwind also explains this phenomenon in the letter for the element in the ratas which serves the sexual act is then changed into its other element which feeds the energies of the system, mental, vital, and physical, even mental. even brain. Some way he will say even that people who go on spiritual path and gain higher levels, when they indulge in sexual act, they may damage their head, their brain. The brain can get the disease. Interesting, yeah? Who could have thought? And that justifies the Indian idea of brahmacharya, the transformation of ratas into ojas, and the raising of its energies upward to that they change into a spiritual force within the body.
So, how is it that it affects the vital? I think I understand a little bit, but how is it that physical and mental is also getting?
Right. Well, it's a known thing that the vital, it's a big casting out of vital energy in this act, yeah, and man is not even aware that what is happening really, because where does he cast this energy out? First of all, it is meant to be kind of invitation or some kind of indication in the subtle world of this opportunity for the conception. But there are many creatures in the vital world who live on this energy. Yeah? All kind of, if we would have that subtle vision, we would be surprised. If we would see who is feeding on us, we would never do this act again. We would run away from it like a nightmare. But we feed many creatures in this subtle world with this energy, with the casting of this energy. They are also causing us to do it. They are kind of pushing us slightly, always kind of bringing thoughts, feelings, emotions into our system to kind of inspire us again back to that action, because then they will feed again. We feed them basically, and we lose our energy. Some people become addicted also. They become totally destroyed by these forces. Yeah, sexual addiction and so on. They can't really get out of it until they are totally destroyed.
And how then when a child is born, it's born out of it. So how is it that the child is that process? But
The child is born differently. The child is, first of all, the conception is to take place, and then that indicates a subtle light to the being in the subtle world, that there's opportunities here. The child reads, so to say, or somebody helps the soul to read the opportunities provided by these parents and this environment and context. Somebody helps the soul on this side. We spoke about this yama and yami. Yes, there is some kind of representative of the group soul here on earth who can provide the information necessary for the soul to decide whether to be embodied there or not. So if the soul has a plan, a vision, what it wants, what it needs from this embodiment, what it has to do, then it looks for the opportunities. And these opportunities are provided by that kind of reference point. Yeah? I need this, and so give me reference point. And the reference point is given here, 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 you can be born. So the soul is just taking a leap of faith and jumps into the, and then it is born somewhere in some culture, some country, some parents, some upbringing. Many times it is not totally fitting, and many times. And then the soul has to get out of it. But some elements are essential there. Oh, light is coming back to you.
yeah, so how do people know that I mean, they have to be the host for the soul to come?
Although they don't know. Well, they just, on the surface, people don't know anything. Yeah, they just live and they, they do things. But within, if they look within, they may see something, yeah, and will be surprised that they know everything. But they never look within, so they just go without. Somehow it happened, they met, and they were attracted, uh, and the child is born. That's it. There is something karmic also, of course. Everybody has a story about the birth of the child, I'm sure. I have two children, and so both of them have a story. Interesting story. Very amazing story in a way, because both of them, I had to marry only to produce a child, and it was it. And once the child was produced, I had to leave nearly immediately. The second child was with me till kind of mother left, and so I grew up with my daughter. So we grew up together. But if you know about the conception and how it happened, in my case, it was nearly conscious. Uh, and I had to protect my child from being destroyed. Yeah, protect from the very beginning. That was my purpose, I guess, or my karma. So when the child came to be born, that soul, it knew already that I will be protecting it somehow. Otherwise, it would not come. I guess, or maybe we do not know the whole complexity of relations. Yes, I think like this. At least I tend to think this way. And then there is number three. Agnir hi vajanam vishe dadati vishvacharshanih agniraye suabhuvam saprito yati variamisham stotrebhya abhara. Will, the universal toiler, gives to the creature his steed of the plenitude. Will gives that which comes into entire being in us for the felicity, and, satisfied, it journeys to the desired good. Bring to those who affirm thee thy force of the impulsion. Agni is for Sri Aurobindo the divine will. He will translate it either the strength or the divine will. Will, the universal toiler. Vishvacharshani, this is universal toiler, gives to the creature Vishe Dadati, his steed of the plenitude Vajinam. That Vajin, the power of plenitude. It's again this Ananda. Yeah? This Ananda is an interesting thing because it is the result of consciousness and force. Yes, consciousness and force precede the bliss. Consciousness and force are the constituent elements of the bliss. Yeah, illumined force, power, illumined is bliss. If your power is totally conscious and true, yeah, then it is a pure bliss. And that is plenitude. Plenitude, exactly the word. This is the most beautiful word in the setting of this, of the Veda. Uh, Plenitude is difficult to translate. Yeah, so even Vajin, Sri Aurobindo found the right word. Yeah? This is the fulfillment, the fullness, the planety, plenitude of all, of force and consciousness and bliss. Everything is in its highest, utmost fulfillment. So this universal toil, Vishvacharshani, gives to the Vish. Vish is the word for people or creature, he says here. But it is from root Vish, to enter, for those who entered into this manifestation. We all came from elsewhere. Yeah? We entered into this world. We came from our divine source, and we do here the sacrifice. We are all Vish. We are all those who entered into the night. We are the sparks of Agni, or light, entered into the night to illuminate. So to all those Vish, he gives the plenitude, the fulfillment. Agni Raye Swabhuvam. Will gives that which comes into entire being in us for the felicity. Satisfied, Pritach. Pritu, it is your Pritach now. Your Pritu and his Pritach. He's satisfied, he's happy, beloved. It journeys to the desired good. Yati, Variyam, to the chosen, to the most desired. He journeys Yati, Sapritach, being happy, being satisfied. Yati, he goes to Variyam, to the most desired to choose. And for the felicity, Raye.
So what would the word Prita, just in the line Prito, what would it mean exactly?
Let us go step by step. He gives for the bliss, or for the felicity is another word, for the um, wealth of the being. He gives Swabhuvam. Swabhuvam is an interesting word, which means Shubhendra translates it in this way, that which comes into entire being, which generates one's own being. Yes, Svabhuvam. Or Svabhava, we can translate in the later terms. Yeah, one's own inner nature. So he gives Dadati, uh, his own, he gives for the felicity his own nature to the being. Let us translate like this. And being satisfied, sapritach, being beloved, wanted, satisfied, loved, yati variyam. It journeys to the desired good. It moves forward, higher and higher, achieving more and more. So it is Agni, the universal man, Vishvacharshani, who gives to people the power of plenitude. It is Agni who finds the wealth by giving to man that which gets fully assimilated within and becomes the substance of his being. Thus satisfied with this, he moves towards that which is desired as the aim of our journey. Bring your luminous support to those who affirm you within themselves. This is my translation. Now it is stated that Agni gives to people the power of plenitude, the physical energy which is transformed into spiritual support, for he is Vaishvanara, Vishvacharshani, Charshana, the universal man or universal cultivator. He cultivates our land, our barren land, into the spiritual of plenitude. He cultivates this mortal soil into the divine kshetra. He makes it full of the power of plenitude, which is fully assimilated by man into his own substance. Being happy of such transformation, Agni can lead him on his journey to the highest good. So it's ongoing, progressive march higher and higher. Great, we can stop here. If you have some questions or something to share. My head is spinning. It's interesting that to be used to this kind of diction and to this kind of, approach is very unusual for today's world. Especially now when the darkness is rising. We need more fire, more flame divine. We can imagine why these verses were so important for the whole humanity and why in India they were learned by heart, perfectly by heart, to pass them forward, this poetry. Is something immortal, something infinite in it, something which can be applied at any time, in every culture, in every age, in every society, in every stage of development, because it belongs to some eternal truth. All right, now then I close with the mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. See
Thank you.
you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.